Hello beauties, welcome back to my channel. If you are new, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Today I'm going to be sharing how to start a blog / YouTube channel. This is part 3 of a 3 videos series that I have been, putting up the last few days. So if you haven't watched part 1 or part 2, I really recommend doing so. Part 1, I share a little bit about my experience, how I got started with my channels and why I did. And then part 2, which went up yesterday, I shared things to know before you just decide to start a blog / YouTube, things that you should really take into consideration before, finally having the courage and hitting publish on that first post. And today I'm sharing actually how to do so, my 10 best tips and tricks on getting started with your own platform and how to do so. So without further ado, let's hop right on in. Also, if I keep looking over here, it's because I have my computer over here. I'm reading off the blog post. There's actually going to be a blog post going up along with this video series, so you guys can check it out. If you feel like you need to take notes throughout this, you don't have to. It's all going to be in that blog post. I will leave it linked below. It's just one blog post, but I decided to split it up into 3 videos since it's kind of a lot of content, so bear with me as I kind of use this as a guide. So number 1 is you need to decide which platform you want to focus on. Do you want to start a blog, a YouTube, an Instagram, all 3? Really sit down and think about what you want to, use your voice on. So I decided, if you watched part 1 of my video, you would know that I launched my blog and my Instagram on the same day, January 1st, 2016. So I was 14 years old, a freshman in high school, almost 4.5 years ago. And I'm so glad that I decided to do both at the same time. I went ahead and uploaded my first YouTube video about 6 months later, but I didn't start using YouTube religiously until about a year and a half ago. So just keeping that out there, it's really important to decide what you want to do. I will say, if you are trying to become an influencer, first watch yesterday's video because I talk about what an influencer actually is and how to become one / why you can't just become an influencer. But if you want to start an Insta blog, which is what they're kind of called, like when you're someone who shares your outfits and like post shop, swipe up links, all that jazz, but you don't actually have a blog, what I say to that, it's great, it's fine, but when society decides that Instagram isn't cool, in like 2-3 years, the way we did with Facebook, what do you have to offer? Pausing for effect right there, because while yes, an Instagram and an Insta blog is great, your website is yours and yours alone. It will never go anywhere. People will never stop using the internet. Google is not going to go anywhere, guys. Like, we're always going to use the internet to access information. So that is why having a blog or a platform of your own is so incredibly important, because regardless of what happens, your website is yours and it's never going anywhere. So I would really consider that when you're deciding which platform you want to focus on. Of course, if you want to start a YouTube channel, that's a little bit different, but anyways, so tip number 2 is to find your niche. This is really important. If you don't know what a niche is, it's basically like a category or topic that you're going to focus on. So when I started my blog, I decided that I wanted to focus on clothes, makeup, faith, and then a little bit of my life. Over the years, I've kind of transitioned into just style and college life specifically. On Sundays, I share my weekly wrap-ups still, which are a little bit more like lifestyle, chill, laid back. And I do dabble into makeup, beauty, travel from time to time, but for the most part, I stick with at least 3 posts a week being strictly focused on fashion and college life. So that is what I focus on. On my YouTube channel, I have a little bit more free will, and I think that YouTube, because it's not my main platform, I can kind of use it to talk about whatever I feel. I obviously want to talk about things like starting your own blog. I share a lot of my life. I talk about baseball, I talk about school, I talk about clothes, makeup, my favorites, like anything and everything. I feel like I can use my YouTube to talk about, just because it's kind of an extension of Style by McKenz. But really decide what you want to focus on, because it leads into my next point, which is coming up with a name. So my name, I decided, was going to be Style by McKenz. Like I said, I was between Kenzie's Closet and Style by McKenz when I started, and we ultimately decided to go with Style by McKenz because my mom and I realized Kenzie's Closet, it was kind of young. We thought if I were to stick with blogging that it would kind of become a little young and like wear off by the time I was older, and I'm so glad that I decided to go with Style by McKenz. I actually don't really like being called Kenzie. I much prefer Kenz or McKenz. McKenz is like my family nickname, and it's like what people who are really close to me, who love me, call me. So we decided Style by McKenz was perfect. I still think it has a nice ring to it, and even though I do talk about other things, like I am known as Styled by amongst my friends, and like I'm called Styled by a lot now. So I don't know. I think coming up with a name is so important. So things to consider when choosing the name for your platform. I know on your YouTube, you just go by your first and last name typically, but for your blog and your Instagram account, these are a couple things to consider. Number one, does someone else already have this name? So if someone else had Styled by McKenz, I could not choose Styled by McKenz because that person bought a domain. They bought a website, which means you can't use the same thing. That's wrong and it's like not allowed. So, you know, see if your name, someone else already has it, and then if they do, obviously choose a different name. Number two, will you like the name 3 years from now? So that is why I ultimately went with Styled by McKenz, like I said, because 3 years from now, I would not like Kenzie's Closet. At least when I was a freshman in high school, I was like, you know, senior year McKenz, just Kenzie's Closet doesn't really go with it. So, you know, decide what's going to be professional and what's going to suit you years down the line. And then number three is this name available across many different platforms? So it's really important to keep a consistent username from different platforms. So if my blog is named Styled by McKenz, my Instagram needs to be named Styled by McKenz too. Like I wouldn't name my Instagram McKenzie Morgan because people want to be able to find you across all platforms and are going to know you as that name. So pretty much everything I have, like my TikTok, everything is under Styled by McKenz because that is the name that I chose with, and I'm going to stick with that name forever across all platforms. Number four is to actually create your site or account. Now that you've had the idea, you're ready, you've, you know, learned what you're getting yourself into, it's time to actually create your site. So like I said in my first video, I did start off with a free WordPress site. I really would recommend taking this route and not going self-hosted right away. I think it's really important to decide, is this something that you're going to stick with? Is it something that you're going to be passionate about a year, 2 years down the line? Going self-hosted is a huge investment, both financially and time-wise, so I would really consider that beforehand. There are a couple different sites that you can get your free website started on. You obviously don't start off with styledbymckenz.com. It's going to be like styledbymckenz.blogspot.wix.wordpress.com. That's totally fine. Especially if you are starting to blog for more of a hobby. So I started off with a WordPress site and I now am self-hosted through Bluehost, and I still use WordPress. So I have a blog post that goes all over self-hosted stuff. If you guys want to read it, I will leave it linked below as well. But you can start a free site through WordPress, Blogger, Wix. There are a couple of other different things you can use. It's usually super easy. I ultimately went with WordPress because it was the most user-friendly, and my mom is a graphic designer and she was like, this is what I feel most comfortable like kind of building your site off of. So that is ultimately what we chose. And then when I ran out of space for photos on that website about a year and a half later, my family and I sat down and we decided that it was time for me to go self-hosted because, you know, we were going to have to be paying for more space, or we could pay to actually buy the domain for myself. So now I own styledbymckenz.com and I just renew it every few years. I'm so glad that this is the decision that I decided to make. Number five is to post consistently. Consistency is key and it is so important. I cannot stress how important it is enough. I have posted a weekly wrap-up to my blog every single Sunday for the last 4.5 years. Every Sunday but one. I have only ever missed one Sunday, and it was because I was at Fashion Week in February and I was so busy all day that I just posted the post on Monday rather than super late on Sunday night. I do not miss Sundays. I have changed my blog schedule here and there over the years. I pretty much usually stick with Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. I've tried to make that my schedule since when I started, but there were always months in high school where I was a little busier than others, so sometimes I would go down to Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. When I have a little bit more free time, like right now, I will pick up to Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. There's been months where I upload every single day. It kind of just depends, but I have always stuck to a specific schedule, and my followers have always known that those are the days I'm going to be uploading. Your favorite TV show doesn't randomly come on Tuesday one week and Thursday the next week and then Friday the next week, does it? No. So you need to be responsible and you need to act professional and do the same thing. You need to follow suit with that. So it's really important to set a schedule and let your viewers know when they can expect to see content from you. I'm not really strict about what time the post goes up that day. Like some days I upload at 10 a.m., some days I upload at noon. I would like to be a little more consistent with that, but at the end of the day, I am going to be realistic with myself. I am a college student. I obviously have other responsibilities, so I do stick with the posting schedule, but time is a little bit different. On YouTube, I am hoping to get into a posting schedule. I do post 3 times a week regardless on here, but I don't have set days. Next up is quality over quantity. This is a huge one, especially when you're first getting started. I know that it's so easy to want to post like every single day because your website and your blog posts really are examples of your work. It's like building your own resume, and these are going to be examples of your work that you can show to brands later along the line to be like, this is what I have to offer. These are examples of blog posts that I can create for you. Yes, your blog is your resume. Yes, you want to have lots of examples to show people and to showcase, but it's no use posting 5 times a week if those 5 posts are going to be crappy. If you have to go down to 3 times a week to make those posts overall better, higher quality photos, better writing, then do so. No one is going to be like, oh my God, she's only posting 3 times a week. If the content is better, that's what's going to keep people engaged, and it's what's going to keep people coming back to your channel. So really keep that in mind, quality over quantity always when it comes to content. Number 7 is to stay true to yourself. Be yourself. Act like how you would in person. I know that some people are different around the camera. I would like to think I'm pretty consistent with how I am in real life versus how I am in camera. Obviously on camera I'm a little bit more professional, and there are a couple of differences, but like, stay true to yourself, you know? Don't buy into stuff. People are going to offer you money to lie to your viewers and to say great things about a product you may not like. Stay true to yourself. Not only will your viewers appreciate it and they can see right through it, but so can brands. And it's so important at the end of the day that your brand is your brand and that you are holding true to the values that you created for yourself. Number 8 is probably the most important tip I have, and it is to engage. Never, ever stop engaging, because engagement changes everything for you. So what I mean by that is you need to be liking other people's blog posts. You need to be commenting on their posts. You need to be reading their posts. You need to be commenting on other people's Instagram posts, following them. It's so important to follow other YouTubers and bloggers and Instagram influencers, not only because like it's great to support them, but you can't expect people to make time to comment on your posts if you don't do the same for them. Like, do unto others what they would do unto you, basically. Just as the Bible says, that's like kind of how it goes. Also, engagement is one of the easiest ways to get your names out there, and it's free. So I try to spend at least an hour every day scrolling through my Instagram main feed, commenting on every single picture I see, everything. Read the comment. There's always something that you can leave, or if you like their shoes, say, hey, I love your shoes. Hope you had a great Monday. There's always something that you can write. And those people, like, there's people who are scrolling through the comments who are like clicking on every person that comments to find new accounts to follow. That's another great tactic. I do that as well. I will like pick a random photo and I will go through every single comment under that post and I will like their pictures. I will comment on them. I'll find new people to follow that way. Also, going through the hashtags that you're using on Instagram and liking those photos and stuff, that's really important. Engagement is everything, and not only is it important to engage on other people's posts, but your engagement rate really does matter. Brands are going to ask for your engagement rate when you start reaching out to them. And by engagement rate, I mean you may have 5,000 followers, but if you have 50% of those people watching your videos and liking them, then that is amazing. Whereas if it could be a girl with 20,000 subscribers that gets 2,000 views on each thing, well, her engagement rate isn't that high. Not that many people her content is not exposed to that many people. So the brands are going to want people with really high engagement, really trusting audiences, and people who are really, really engaged with the producer's content. Also, always try to take time to respond to comments. I obviously don't get to every single comment because there's so many things that need to be tended to that it's hard to sometimes, but it really does make someone feel good when you take time to respond to their comments, say thank you for reading, for watching, give them links to something if they ask for it. So I always try to respond to everyone's comments. Next up is to start treating your hobby like a business. If you want to, of course. It's totally fine to start a blog and to only want to have the blog as a hobby. That's totally cool. That's so fine. But if you want to start landing brand deals and expanding your brand, making money, like leading in that direction, you need to start treating your hobby like a business. How am I as a brand supposed to treat you like a businesswoman if you don't treat yourself that way. You know what I mean? So I think it's really important to start shifting your mindset. You are never too small to reach out to someone. You are never too small to do anything. And once you start telling yourself that and you start acting that way, not just telling yourself, but acting on something, that will make all the difference in the world. It's also a good idea to find a few bloggers or YouTubers, influencers that you look up to that are doing what you would like to be doing, if that makes sense. So like I look up to, for example, Teza, Brighton Keller, Champagne and Chanel. I love those 3 influencers, and they have great, huge followings. And it's, you know, you look at people who are really successful at what you do, and you can look to them and take note of what they're doing. Take note of their habits. Are they posting every day at a certain time? What kind of content is their audience responding really well to? What kind of sponsored content are they doing? Don't copy those people, but once you start mimicking their habits, you can kind of see how they are successful because they're doing these specific things. And then number 10 is to expand your brand. So don't expand it too much, because we all know from the real world and economics and stuff like that, that too much expansion can lead to corruption, but it is important to expand at some point. So for instance, I had my blog and my Instagram, and I decided I wanted to expand it and start a YouTube channel. If I had more time, I would start a podcast 100%. There are people who, they have merch, they launch an audiobook, they launch a course, stuff like that. Expanding your brand is a great way to get your name out there, to really diversify yourself, and to just put yourself out there in more ways. So for instance, like, I don't just do YouTube. I have a blog, I have a Pinterest account, a TikTok, a Facebook page, things like that. So there are multiple different areas that people can follow along with me and see what I am doing. That is going to be all for today's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed hearing some of my tips and how to get started with creating your own blog, your own YouTube channel, and really getting after your dreams. I think it's so important to remember that no one is going to do the work for you. You have to, at the end of the day, have the courage and the confidence and the passion within yourself to hit publish on that first post and to really put yourself out there. I promise you the work is so worth it. As cliche as it sounds, Style by McKenz absolutely flipped my world upside down, and I could not imagine my life being any other way. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said, I will leave links to the other YouTube videos and the blog posts that I mentioned throughout this video below, so you guys can check those out, and I will talk to you in my next video. Peace out, Girl Scouts.